starting to do that trial now. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna call us back because we go to the grand jury. I wonder if we're gonna have to get, I'm like, I don't know. I can't make it, sorry.
You already did your job.
I did my job.
Hi,
Yeah,
Carl.
I was like,
Well, how about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you.
oh.
Some dad showed us, all the kids stopped talking.
Yeah, I know. He's here now.
Go for it.
So efficient, Sarah.
I don't have a gavel.
Yeah. Need to go up there and take care of something.
I was gonna say, you expecting trouble tonight?
We have a pretty quick, hopefully,
That's all right.
You can just headbutt the table if you want to.
Yeah. Use your fist. Yeah.
Good idea.
Order.
Concussions and the conservation.
I should have thought of that
Make you
myself.
smile. Have you done?
I'm sure there's been many meetings you felt like banging your head on the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Good
Oh, Dan? How are you?
Old home week.
I got caught listening to North Carver Water District business.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Being a North Carver resident.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it does affect you, so you
A little bit.
Yeah.
Are you connected to the water up there? Or do you have a well?
I am. I'm, well, yes and yes.
Oh.
Yeah, both.
There've been rumblings about them taking our well away, but I said, I'll connect for now, but yeah.
Wait, have these people already been notified? I live in North Carver too.
What's that?
Have you already been notified? So they told you specifically they might take your well? Or like it's just.
Yeah, I know. I got a call that,
Okay.
you know, there's a West End Drilling said that they wanted to come and go ahead and take my well out, and
I thought that was part of the deal. If you hooked up, you had to do away with your well.
well, I hooked up under duress, so they were saying, even though I had clean water, I had a third party test it and everything. My well water was fine, but they had said that at one point they're like, well, we could put a restriction on your deed to say that you have contaminated water, so if you want to sell it.
Clearly, you didn't make the right
But
decision.
you had a choice, Dan. You had a choice.
Oh,
yeah.
You got a nice well there. If you see if something happened to it.
Yeah.
All the while, I've been helping people work the problems. I've done a lot in the area of water filtration and things like that, and facts be damned.
Yeah.
I want to get away with a good story.
So, good to see all of you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for stopping.
Sorry, I've been a little busy this summer. I meant to probably get here, 3 meetings ago, but here it is.
Better late than never, Dan.
Yeah.
It's a good night. It's quiet.
Yeah, there's nobody here, really.
Just me.
It's gonna be quick.
Quick, hopefully.
Sarah's like an honorary member, though. She just she's here enough. If we ever need an alternate.
Getting close to the table.
This seat is yours, just ask.
Yeah.
Very tempting.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm happier
Yeah.
doing trail cleanup projects.
Pros and cons, right?
That's my lane.
I might have one.
I just realized I was like, I forgot to grab a pen before I left the hose.
I do. You must give it back. I'm
I
very
will.
attached to my
I will
pens.
give it back, I promise.
She stole that fair and square from some.
Yes.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
That's why it means so much.
I had to work for it.
Hey, Savory, you see
Excuse me.
that subdivision that's going in off of like, not Carver Road, but right near it's in Carver, and it's on the right,
Yeah.
heading towards,
By the cemetery?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was,
5 homes.
yeah, but not during,
No,
yeah.
no, same guy who did Lakeview, the 5 and
Oh,
3
same
in
guy?
Lakeview. Yeah, Bob.
Gotcha.
All right, 7 o'clock. Well said? Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. We've got a short meeting tonight. Let's get right to our agenda and our order of business. First discussion that we have tonight is a discussion of a tree removal at 10 Andrews Point Road. Want to take it?
Sure. So Mr. Dan Sullivan, the owner of the property, reached out to me a few weeks back, asked about the tree. It's located on the lake side of the house, kind of in a like garden bed area. And yeah, it's a pretty, it's relatively small birch tree, but it's kind of one of the closest trees to the lake. And you know, they're concerned about rot, and some of the limbs are like cracking, and so they're requesting permission to remove it. Savory, myself, Dave, and Curtis were there and spoke to Mary Jane Sullivan, the wife. I think it's, you know, it's a tree that's not really acting as much of a buffer to the lake because it's in kind of like a raised garden bed area. There's also a lot of like English ivy growing around the base of it. So, you know, my only recommendation is if you do approve removal, like I would recommend just leaving the stump in the ground. But that was my opinion on that.
Yeah, it was between, a huge piece of granite and the lakefront, so I think that if they even attempted to remove the stump, they would not get far. So, see, I'm sure that root structure is wrapped around that granite. So, anybody have any comments? Dave, you were there, Curtis? Anything?
Pretty much an ornamental tree, really.
Yeah.
Served much, yeah, it was dead tree that needed to.
I saw the pictures that Emil sent out.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it was worth saving anyway, so.
No, and it's, as Emil said, it's not really part of an entire ecosystem holding the hillside back. All right, so that being said, I'll entertain a motion to allow the tree removal at 10 Andrews Point.
As long as the stump stays, so I make that
Yeah.
motion.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, Carl has made the motion, Dave seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Did you pull the,
Yeah, so
there was another question that the homeowners had. They were in front of us a year and a half ago about doing some work on their driveway.
so they came to us in like, I think it was June of 2023, and they had asked about paving their driveway, which I believe they did that part that's outside of jurisdiction. But they were looking at options for paving, the part that goes all the way down to the lake. It's basically a existing driveway that goes up into the lake, Sampson's Pond. I didn't find a file on the driveway part specifically. What we have here is a couple RDAs, and then before that there was a septic rebuild that they did, but
Okay.
I didn't find I don't know, like Gary kept a file on this project. They came to us basically asking for options. I watched the video on it, and your recommendation as a board at the time was to look into like pervious pavement options.
Right, oh, that's right.
So, like I told them today, they should look for, a company that's willing to give them a quote for what the work they're looking to do is, like, as the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent. I don't think it's our job to, design a project or give them, a solution. In my opinion, it's not really necessary work at the time. I think it's more of a cosmetic thing.
It is, it doesn't, if they don't like the way it looks.
Good, but it's perfectly functional. So I would say if they want to do something, they should, speak to a contractor, find out what exactly the work would involve, and then come back to us with some kind of application, whether it be an RDA or if you guys think it needs to be more than that. But that was my recommendation to the
Okay, well,
homeowner at the time.
we told Mary Jane today that we would look it up, so when you talk to her tomorrow, just remind her that what our recommendation was a year and a half ago was to go with the pervious pavement, and that they should continue in that direction.
Sure.
Okay? All right, thank you. All right, next up, request for extension of SE 126-553, weather vane at Patriot Pines, 0 South Meadow Street.
Hello.
Hi.
Not much to present. I probably all drive by this development on South Meadow Road frequently. It's coming along unit by unit. We have just, keep track of orders of conditions and want to make sure we keep everything current. There's obviously a long way to go with this project, so they're still working in phase 1. The order of conditions is for the entire site, phases 1, 2, and 3. And I did bring my trusty little exhibit that we've seen. Yeah,
I can't point to them. So.
great. I know some of you are more familiar with this project than others. This is essentially just the entirety of the site adjacent to Village Links Golf Course, entrance off of South Meadow Road. Phase 1 is currently under construction. The road has been built to a point, and so they're kind of, picking away at the remaining infrastructure. We're working with them on the next phases of the septic systems for phases 2 and 3. So things are progressing. It's going to take some time. Certainly there are people living there. They've sold 9 units. They've built 11. They're continuing to construct, and things are moving along. And, if you recall, for those that aren't familiar, there's a couple of ponds on the golf course that have a buffer that kind of, reaches onto the site. There's really no work proposed there, but that's really the only resource area or buffer zone even involved related to phases 1 or 2. And then there's a wetland and bog system off of the end of the property where there's a very small amount of grading within the 100-foot buffer zone. So very little work in jurisdictional areas throughout the entirety of the project. But, it's there, and we want to keep the order of conditions active, certainly, so that, the communication lines are open and the project is being done in compliance with all applicable regulations. So that's really it. We're requesting a 3-year extension. In an ideal world, the whole project would be done by then. I don't know if it will be. It just sort of depends on a lot of factors, but if not, and the commission grants the extension, we'll be back to request a very similar extension again, just to maintain the order throughout the duration of the project.
Are they building to keep a couple of units ahead of sales, or are they building as fast as they can?
I think they're building as fast as they can. And if you remember, if anyone was following along before you were on the commission, there were various iterations of this project through the years, and some delays and some changes, and then, some pauses, particularly during the pandemic. So it's been kind of a slow start to the project, but now it's really moving along, and, the applicant feels that they're going to continue this pace as long as the market will sustain and things are going along as they are today. So plans to build the entirety of the project over the years, and as I said, we'll be back with an update in a few years if it's not complete, or ideally requesting a certificate of compliance. So either way, we'll be back in one form or another, I'm sure.
This is our property.
Yes, right.
Yes, that's the Wade Street parcel.
Wait,
The Wade Street.
Yep, it's right next door.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Sarah?
No, pretty straightforward.
I just have a question that's not related to this at all, because I wasn't on the commission. So do you have to put in like a water system and a septic system for all is that?
There are grouped water supply wells throughout the projects. I want to say there's 6 units per well, something about that, and then there are 3 shared septic systems.
I see.
One for each of the 3 phases.
Oh, right there. Oh, gotcha. Good, thanks. I was just curious.
Of course, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to grant the 3-year extension for weather vane at Patriot Pines, SE 126-553.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got Ann and Curtis. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Discussion of split rail fence on Lot 1 South Main Street. Really, this is just, we had the discussion at our last meeting, we did not take a vote. So we just want to memorialize the fact that we did discuss it and allow the relocation of the split rail fence on Lot 1 South Main Street. So I'll entertain a motion to allow the relocation of the split rail fence on Lot 1 South Main Street.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Carl, Curtis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved. That all we needed from that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Fence is on the limb, by the way.
I know, I saw it today, driving back. Okay, minutes to be read and approved for 9/4, and then we'll get to new topics. Has everyone read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone have any corrections, changes?
I do not.
Nope.
All right, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as written for 9/4.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, Dave, Carl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved unanimously. Okay, any topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance? Why don't we start with Mr. Badger? Because you're here.
Sure.
You can sit right there.
Thank you. Table.
Maybe just-
I know.
You know the drill.
So, I guess Dave has spoken to you. We want to just find out what your ideas are, your thoughts, or any movement on everything that your crayon drawing.
Well, technically, it was my Elmo drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and that was just sort of a concept drawing, and
Yes.
it was not to scale.
Dan
Badger. Hi, my name is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you. I-
We hadn't met yet.
Oh, okay.
Now we're official.
As I have it.
You have it.
I have it. So we all have the plan.
It's semi-embarrassing. But
Oh, I wouldn't go semi.
well, the thing is as opposed to, I don't know what other, that's it sort of lines up like so. Anyway, the drawing represents actually not so much a concept that I've come up with, but really my being the messenger of different groups and organizations and neighbors who were curious as to what we might do with that conservation property. Some things that different school groups had brought up, things that Council on Aging had brought up, things that people who frequent the pond and go to the beach, which it's right next door to, had asked about. And so that in concert with projects that are already underway, such as the pickleball court in that area, there have been terms such as this being more of a complex, extended beyond this. And I think the push was to, outside of this, was to wait, let's have a study, let's see how we can make this all one big place. The problem is a lot of those ideas would not conform to conservation restrictions. So my thought was to take an amalgamation of all the ideas that had come into play and fit them and just deal with the conservation space. Keep it simple, and help people redefine and understand what, in terms of conservation means, what the word develop means in that arena. It's a very different word. It's not a capital D, maybe a lowercase d in terms of development, but it is, however, a public space. So there are some things such as the pavilion, that was considered to be a space that was just adjacent and at the same level as the Council on Aging parking. So there'd be some space for them to both a point of entrance and egress, and perhaps some additional parking on what is now a chain link fence. And then these bulbs represent there's a big tree line here, and beyond this would just be a simple maintained path. I think we had talked about different grants to maybe introduce American Chestnut, a program there. These dots here are representing what did I call it? It was a bird box monitoring apparatus, otherwise known as a fence, that had bird boxes on top of each post. But in all seriousness, all of it had both functionality in terms of encouraging outdoor education in the area. Out near the water, where there's a bit of a rise, there was a platform area for where we could have a place for benches, but the benches themselves would be on the platform, so as to mitigate impact, in that area. And some of the tree work that was already done by the neighbor, we could mirror in terms of not disturbing understory and so forth, and just letting the landscape do what it needed to do on that part, because we had that observation area. And these areas in between, I think we had talked about indigenous wildflowers being introduced to sort of take hold on these areas to mitigate, so it didn't become a burden for DPW in terms of mowing, but simply just have like a mowed path, and perhaps any tree work that was going to be done in this area. There's a lot of invasive species that are along there, where there was talk about perhaps just repurposing the chips and putting those in the path itself. In terms of the building itself, that's a different, I was going to say monster, but not so much so, in that there are both grants and sponsorship funds for green technologies that we've looked at in terms of fixing the place up and turning it into half a meeting, 2 meeting spaces, sort of an A side and a B side, and the garage being a storage place and a shop for Carver Trail Conservation stewards for all their hand tools and other equipment that we're acquiring through a Mass Trails grant. And it goes on and on. There's, I don't know, you've all, I think, at one point or another have had a chance to kind of peek at it. I don't mind having my feet put to the fire as to what all this means. I always like to kind of push back and say, well, what do we all want to do? Because there are all kinds of ways of going about this. I've been involved with much more complex projects. This one seems to stall down a little bit, but also because it wasn't really my place to do the project as a Community Preservation Act funded project, and so therefore as a community project, and so therefore everything we had put together were in-kind labor crews, and the monies were for materials, for the fence, for the pavilion, for the platform, and we had donations from contractors to help with the chain link fence, and perhaps some other things. The building itself was sort of a next steps thing. It is a conservation property, and so therefore I had been asked to hold off on developing. I think we had the crew all ready to go, not this past summer, but the summer before. And again, they're volunteer contractors, so when they give me their window of time and then that passes, then I have to sort of not only be patient until the next time around, but also probably do some sucking up to them for the next time around. We're asking for their help. There are certainly some things that could easily turn into Eagle projects. Some other scout leaders and myself have been scoutmaster and committee chair for Carver for a while now. And we've recently combined with Clinton and Kingston, which is a good thing. I know some people have thought that there's a really older scouting in Carver, but it's just expanded. We just now have more resources and more things. So, but I'm always hesitant to put a kid and their family or a troop on a project that may be asked to be put on hold again, because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into developing these volunteer teams, and it goes beyond just them scoring T-shirts and food. It's their time, and that's precious to them and their families. So that's that. The other one, of course, is the coal property.
Right.
So that's
Well, I think we're more concentrating now on 44 Lakeview because it's more visible.
Sure.
And it's gotten into the eyesight of the new town administrator. I'm starting to ask questions about what we're planning to do there, particularly about the building. I've got a number of questions. You said you were asked to stop and doing anything. By whom?
At the time, it was the chair of the select board, Mark Townsend.
Okay. And his
Because
reason? His reason?
I'm not a property developer, and that I really didn't have a right to unilaterally make town decisions, which I wasn't. These are, again, very much a concept drawing, and I said, well, I'm doing all this as a volunteer, so tell me what you want to do. And he said they were going to do a study to see how this can't use the term campus could be developed, and there was going to be some study done. I said, well, we're kind of ready to go. So he said, well, you can't just go and do this. So
Now, Sarah asked about this as well, Sarah Hewins?
Not that I know of. To me personally, it was just a conversation with the new town administrator, Glenn. I think
She had
something
mentioned it to me.
Oh, that's
asked
okay.
me.
I knew someone had said something about that.
She stopped me at one of the meetings one day and asked what was going on with it, and whatever kind of deal. And I said, well, we'll have to get in touch with Dan or whatever kind of deal. So I think she
Okay.
even mentioned something about a subcommittee. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but she's just she mentioned that kind of deal.
So if you break all this down, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, more specifically though, it was because there's money available right now from CPC for the
That money's been appropriated for this
for the outdoor classroom pavilion, whatever it is. And if we just did it one step at a time, if there's the money's there, we should just take advantage of it right now if we can do it. I don't think it'd be anything to us as a group, not to go on with this, have they?
Knock out the pavilion. My recommendation is the fence, the pavilion, and the platform, done. They're not, all these things can literally be done by hand if you wanted to, or even faster if you had a contractor, or if you wanted to rent a post hole digger and knock out the fence, and there are a lot of juniors and seniors. I don't know if it's Mr. Cully or who's in charge of community service hours for juniors and seniors. But you can just have, 10 teams of I like child labor.
Like it.
But where if they're looking for knock out a weekend and keep them fed, get I always ask one of the shops to donate subs and drinks, and they're happy to do that kind of thing too. And so it's just, and there's again, the irony is it's a community project. Preservation Act funds, it should be a very community-driven thing. So once you have said project, as many tentacles are welcome, not a problem, as long as they're all facing this way and not pulling back this way. That was sort of the issue at hand.
All right, well, I don't see any of those three items, the pavilion, the platform, or the fence, as having any impact on any long-term plan for the
None.
campus.
None.
I think they would be incorporated into anything that we did because they fall in line with what we're allowed to do on that property. And there's very little else we can do.
This was supposed to be the definition of thou shalt not step on anyone's toes, because it was so simple. That's why,
Right. So it seems to me the disconnect right now is you've got Mark Townsend, who's still on the select board, no longer chair, but still there, who at one point as chair asked you to stop, and Sarah Hewins, who was on the select board, saying, what's going on? So these guys aren't speaking. My feeling is that we should probably, as a conservation commission, have ask for to be placed on the agenda of the select board and come in front of them with this. Say, we have Dan's drawing.
So I didn't know that it was, this property was brought up, I believe, at the last select board hearing that, I wasn't present, but, I think it's something that is becoming, more on their minds. The new town administrator asked myself, the DPW director, Dave Top, and I'm not sure if Tom Bott, the town planner, also was involved, to meet out there on October 3rd, I believe. So we're gonna meet and just talk about, the overall plan. So I think it would be good to at least have that, these ideas brought
I'll be
up.
in Seattle.
At that. So, I'll be happy to, spearhead that and facilitate, any of this, as we move forward. I agree. I think it's a really positive overall project. I don't think any of these things are going to, be an issue. Is the property like under an official conservation restriction?
Yes.
And who's the grantee of that? If we're the grantor as the property owner, who's
I guess the town.
okay? So it's like the
But it was,
conservation
we
commission.
used our conservation acquisition funds to purchase that property. So conservation owns it
Right.
and all of the restrictions that are
I
associated with
understand that.
I
conservation.
think the terminology was the conservation would be the steward of it, and
Right.
it would also fall under conservation restriction.
Yeah, I just think the owner, just because conservation owns the property doesn't mean it's under a conservation restriction, which is a very specific legal document that's basically saying that the development rights of this are overseen by another entity. It usually has to be like a different entity, whether it's a local government, local township, or Buzzards Bay Coalition, a nonprofit entity. So I'm just
Then
curious if there's an official CR, because I hadn't seen any documentation.
I don't know the answer to that. I think that the document that you would fall back on is whatever is the verbiage in the conservation acquisition funding that
And the deed of the.
and the deed, but the acquisition funding is explicit as to what is allowed and who owns that. So I think that's probably the place to start,
Yeah,
because that money is strictly for acquisition and any associated costs, closing costs, lawyers' costs, et cetera. It's never for maintenance. Whatever and that was something that was passed by the state legislature for Carver. So whatever those rules are in that law is what we're under the jurisdiction of, or
got it.
we have to obey what that
Yeah, and
says.
it sounds like the Conservation Commission is the leading body that's supposed to be making the decisions
Right.
for stuff like this.
I think the word steward was.
Right, yeah, but it's town-owned property.
Right.
And we manage it and are responsible for what happens there.
Yep.
So,
I think the only other layer, because it is Preservation Act funds, is there is supposed to be a third, a party from Preservation Act acting as a liaison as it pertains to expended funds.
yes, and that's kind of separate, but yes, there would be.
It's just another layer, but it's, I think, an important one.
When are you going away?
October 6th.
So I can be for that meeting, I can be here.
I would, if you could be
You know,
there, I mean, I would ask you, I want someone from CPC there, but.
Okay.
Well,
but
I'm
they-
from CBC too, but.
I know you
yeah,
are, but I mean, you're not working.
Right, right.
And you are, so
Yeah.
if you could
Oh, no,
join that meeting to
It's
talk
October
about
3rd,
the
right?
funding,
I believe so, yeah, I'll let you know. I just have to, run it by our town administrator, see who
All right.
is invited.
I'll be there, yeah.
okay, that would be great.
To be clear, the other piece to this is, while I was involved with spearheading getting the funds and things like this, because it was a Preservation Act, just the bridge, the Lost Boot Bridge, I don't know if you've been out to Cole property to see the bridge, much more complex project, and that one seemed to go off without a hitch, and I don't know if that's because we didn't always ask for help. We just, but within the restrictions of what was agreed upon, and we did have somebody from Preservation Act Committee
Yes,
looking at it,
oversee it,
and,
right.
all that. So, but again, to my point being is that was also a volunteer-driven project. The only hiccup I will say, just based on how the article is written and how the town voted on this, is the labor piece was listed as in kind. So, the only thing that I would just caution this body with, and with CPC, is that if it's decided that you want to just kind of move forward with this, but with like maybe a contractor, that's fine, but the funds are for materials only.
Right.
Unless
And that's
there's,
for all three.
well, I should, to be clear, for that, how you use that bucket of money.
Right.
Right?
It was one bucket for the fence,
No, one bucket for the materials, for all of this.
for all three things.
So that $50,000 from CPC is for all of it?
Materials.
Just materials.
Just materials, but for the
Materials,
platform, the
For the
pavilion.
platform and pavilion.
Right, so if you have a
And the fence.
contractor,
Right.
I would just, mention to them that this is in kind, or if you have to pay them, also for labor and things like that, it would have to be a different funding source. At least that's how I would handle it. I can't tell you what to do, it's just, that's usually how the funds are exercised.
Did you have people set up, well, I guess you did, have people ready to go, like on the pavilion and everything, right? Are they still willing to do it? As far as you know, I mean, yeah.
One not so much. I think he also has been involved with other projects with me and might be had suffered from a little bit of the volunteer burnout thing.
Okay.
So we have to. That's why I'm very careful to know when or if this is a for sure thing. Then I can sort of get the wheels turning again. But
All right, so I'm glad that Dave Siedentoff is going to be there, you said?
Yep.
All right, because they may want to have a role in this.
Yeah, I think the town administrator's idea is to get us all together, just take a look at, the greater overall property, because, it is one of those properties that's like, high visibility, it's right there. A lot of people use the Council on Aging, the beach property, so it would be nice to tie these all in together and have, everyone on the same page. So I think that's kind of the overall, let's come together, have these ideas
I
brought
absolutely
together,
agree with all
and
that.
then
Yeah.
we can.
The only problem with that is before this was ever even conceived, all that dialogue had happened many times.
Yes.
And so this historic narrative of it's a little frustrating, which is probably why I stepped away from certain projects until, because again, these are all volunteer efforts, and I think my efforts have been pushed more toward just doing trail cleanup projects and outdoor education when it comes to volunteering in the town. But once, I'm not sure what role I could play other than getting out of the way now.
Well, your contacts are important, like who people are willing to do this stuff.
Yeah,
And
well,
you're scout.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Scout.
scout groups for sure. In terms of like when you're ready to go and you actually have a need for labor and the scheduling and logistics, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about like, say we wanted to go build that pavilion tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we can't obviously, but I mean, who would go get all the material, and who would do all that? Would that be one of us would have to do that, or?
Well, one's gonna have to,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just, it's.
Are you still willing to do it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pavilion, so like,
Yeah.
just, whoever we decide to do, usually I try to get different lumber yards to compete against one another for my shopping list,
Okay.
and then, set up a delivery.
So you're willing to still work on it with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Were there plans, actual physical plans for the pavilion?
Yeah, well, what I did is that I think with the original presentation, I had 3 different pavilion options, and all of them involved just digging out sonotubes, not any type of pad.
Right.
Right, yeah, we have said that.
You can't do that.
Just dirt floor.
Yeah. Well, I had thought about or some type of crushed stone or
Right,
something
right.
like that.
Right.
And then 6 picnic tables would fit in there nicely. So.
Okay. I still think that after your meeting with everybody, I think we should sit down we should have an audience with the select board. And maybe Glenn can facilitate that somehow after you all have a conversation
Sure.
about what we wanted to do. But, this was a blueprint of what we wanted to do that's been around here now since we bought the property. Dan was on the board at the time. It was a completely different board, but this is what we talked about, and this is what we had envisioned when purchasing the property. This is sort of what we knew we wanted to do.
I think the only thing that's missing here is those invasive species out of there, so that there would actually be just a natural way to walk in from the parking that's already there.
Right,
So
yeah, and I
people-
think removing the existing chain link fence
Yeah.
along the, beach property, it would be a really positive thing just for access. And, we have been maintaining the property, we pay for a landscaping company to go in there. He's, had some setbacks, but he is, currently doing the property maintenance and is taking care of a lot of those like invasive species and, that area in the back of the property is kind of like, more of a naturalized area. When the front of the property is more, a little bit more like residential, but I think it's definitely on its way, but it would be nice to get it to a point where, people are actually attracted to this.
When you meet with them on the 3rd,
Mhm.
the fence will certainly still be there, but you can talk to Dave and Glenn and anybody from Select Board, anybody who's there, the fact that that is the property line and that's the restriction, the area where past that, the conservation restrictions are in place. But on the pickleball court side, they aren't. So there's a good bit of space between our fence and where the parking begins that could be used for additional parking. So just make sure that that's known, and then if they're going to do a comprehensive plan for the whole campus, that they should factor that in. I think the entire plan should be done in crayon.
So this was colored pencil.
My mistake.
Can I get a copy of that, or
Yeah,
just so I have it, so
I'll put it on Facebook. How's that?
then we might have other people if we don't want to comment together.
You're not the only ones bringing. So I teach like first aid, wilderness first aid programs, and my drawings of renderings of the heart and the lungs and the cardiovascular system will blow your mind. You know what it is because of the colors.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great starting point, and it's the diagram that everyone can understand.
Can we come up with any sort of timelines? So,
Well,
can we
I
say
think it
that
all
we
depends on
want
what
to have a
happens here.
plan this year and maybe the execution is in the spring?
Well,
Something like that?
again, Curtis mentioned today when we were at the site visit that according to his wife, and the pickleball is pushed off till spring. Is that correct?
No, they're gonna start it in the fall, and
okay.
it won't be open till spring.
Okay, that's
Oh, okay. All right. So, I mean, at least that's part of something
Contract's out.
going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Contract's out's been approved.
Yeah.
They had to
Alright.
change the language because the surface has changed, but other than that, it's.
Oh, that's okay. Great.
But something like, even after
A
this,
stake in the ground.
October 3rd, And we could start right away on that fence, we could start ripping that thing out of there, if somebody else wanted to do it.
Yeah, it's about
It
finding.
won't be open again.
Somebody to do it, but that's one of the first steps, you just start.
During the winter
And once you
anyway,
start
so
something
it's
like that, it makes
Alright,
it
anyway.
easier to continue, you know?
Yeah,
and,
the only thing that I'm not familiar with is like how we actually use that CPC funding, like you were saying, like is there a account in the town that basically just pays out for materials?
Yes.
It pays out through CPC. You
Yeah.
submit the bills to CPC. They
And we
get
just
signed
pay the
off.
bill.
The checks are written.
Got it.
With the oversight from whoever is responsible for that project on the CPC board.
I don't think anybody touched that.
Well, hopefully the October,
Nobody threw their hand up in the air when that one came up.
So it's Bob.
well, right now Bob's in charge of it.
Bob's in charge.
Okay.
Bob's in charge of a lot of
All right, okay.
But I felt like I was sort of tied to it because it's the conservation, you know, so I'll probably oversee it eventually, you know, as far as that goes. You know.
All right, well, based on what you could both find out from that
Meeting.
walk around
Yeah.
at the site, let's see how receptive they are to moving ahead without a formal meeting with the select board. I think they're probably gonna wanna hear more from us about that, but I would think that taking down the chain link fence should be first, putting up the split rail fence should be second. That kind of defines the campus.
Yeah.
And then we can move on with the platform and the pavilion. But the money's there for the materials.
And this is exactly what was presented to CPC. It was presented to the town to vote on, and they approved it, so.
Right.
The town liked my drawing.
I love
They
it.
did. Honestly, that's what pushed it over the edge. They gave it a real.
So I know they were probably like, we can't say no to that 5-year-old. That they,
That poor kid.
Danny Badger came in front of us.
Little Danny.
Little Danny Badger.
So even if October 3rd when it gets pushed another time, and I can't make it, maybe somebody else can go too. I mean, you can go anyways if you want, I'm sure, if you want to go. I mean,
I'll put it down, I'll see if I can.
Right.
Dan, do you want to go that? You think I don't want to go.
I just don't know
Uh,
if this is an open invite meeting.
yeah, I got
This
you.
is like, you know,
Yeah.
within
I got you.
the channels of the
All right.
town.
But I think someone from
be
CPC,
happy
because the
to
funding, I think
invite
one
someone.
person from CPC should be there,
Yeah.
you know, because of the funding
Right.
and what's
And then I'll
available.
go if it's the 3rd. Otherwise,
Okay.
somebody else, I'll ask somebody else to go.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dan.
sir.
Thank you for coming.
we talked about the other problems that caused maybe in a different meeting.
So still other CPC projects
Well,
still.
since you brought it up, what's going on with the coal project?
Nothing, same
Same thing, they told you to stop on that too, or?
In general, well, and also
That's-
the family told me to sort of pump the brakes on doing free projects because I get paid for these kind of things up north. So
Okay.
Yeah, I get you. But I'm glad you're willing to still help out with us.
of course,
Yeah, I mean.
as long as I'm not on an island with these things, that's kind of
Yeah, right,
where
we want to be all the
where it
same.
was. So.
Right. So I think we should, we'll come back to discuss the building, the structure itself. We talked about that earlier, and I think that probably one of the things that we should do is assign someone from the commission to do some research into other municipalities that have created conservation land that has a structure on it, and what they've done with that structure. Try to find some history of what other people have done,
I'll share my notes, which led to the writing of the article.
okay? That would be great,
Well, that was easy.
yes. All right. Okay,
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Dan. I
Thanks, Dan.
appreciate you coming.
Good to see you again.
Really, really.
yes, good to
Good
see
seeing
you.
you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to meet you, Dan.
All right, we'll see you around campus, as they say, but not that campus.
Thank you very much, Dan.
All right. Have a good night. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So,
Got October 3rd meeting ready, tentatively.
yeah, and then find out
Yes, I
if the
believe
select
it's
board.
2 to 3 p.m. That's that was what I heard initially.
And that's a Thursday.
Yes.
And just see if the select board wants to meet with some members of, you know, the full,
'Cause we'll have-
full select board wants to meet with some
Did they
members.
do like a joint meeting type of thing, or?
I don't know if it's necessary for all of us to be there. I'm not saying we shouldn't be, but I think that's basically just explaining what it is we wanted to do, and then this has been in the pipeline for X number of years, and, you know, it was put on hold by the select board. What do we need to do to bring it back, to get it going again? Since it's the select board's decision not to be moving forward at this point.
It is what it is.
So we do have a meeting on October 2nd also, right? Is that correct?
Do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I am expecting to get an application either tomorrow or the day after for a notice of intent. I believe I had sent you the solar project that coming up. I think they're trying to get it on that meeting if they can, which would, you know, they have to get it to us by, you know, tomorrow or early on Friday. But I believe I'm expecting to receive that. We also have a
How far in advance does it have to be published?
we need to post a legal ad for it on Friday by noon. Noon is the deadline for that.
Okay, and this is the one that's going in front of planning on the 8th?
Yep.
It's not the floating solar?
No, this is a totally different project. I just heard about it from the planning board this week. And we also just today received a letter from Fruit d'Or USA Real Estate Corp. They had discussed a new reservoir. They're going before the Earth Removal Committee for, it's, you know, within conservation jurisdiction, but they're claiming it's all under agriculture exemption, so, you know, I was gonna,
Isn't that the one on Mayflower Road?
yes, Mayflower Road, yep.
We've talked about that already.
I don't know if we had an actual meeting, you and I had a
Oh, that's
I
right.
don't remember
preliminary
talking about it.
meeting, but,
That's right.
you know, they wanted to just get it out there before the commission. They're
You're
gonna
gonna be
come
busy.
before, so, yeah, that's what I
It'll
have
be good for
for
me.
now.
Okay.
You know,
And some COCs, possibly.
possibly, yeah.
Okay. All right, so there is a meeting on the 2nd. All right. The last thing that I have, and we've spoken about this before, I kind of forgot about it and didn't mention it at our last meetings. I know some of you have ideas for revising our bylaws. We talked about this before, making things a little bit stronger, a little bit less gray area, more black and white. If you can go through our bylaws and indicate places where you'd like to see change, so that we can get it on the town warrant for the spring meeting. I believe that we're probably going to have to submit it in December.
Wow.
So we're going to need to have it done by November. So if you could work on any changes, corrections, new bylaws that you would like to possibly incorporate into our current wetlands bylaws, please have that for the November 6th meeting. If you could put that on your chalkboard for the agenda, November 6th, to talk about,
Yep.
you know,
If
revising.
you want to run anything by me as well in that process, you know, you can either shoot me an email or come by the office and we can have a discussion about those things.
So,
You can always shoot myself and Savory an email if you have.
so is that the process, like you just work with like?
Well, what we'll do is we'll put it on the agenda as a discussion item, and we'll go through everything.
You have
and
everything.
and the 5 of us will look at each change
Okay.
that each individual has put forward, and see what the consensus is.
Okay,
And, you know, maybe reword it, maybe strengthen it, weaken it, but what we need to do, I've learned a hard lesson, is that any change that we want to make, each change we make has to be its own article.
you mean
Because
literally like each change in wording?
each change in wording,
Okay.
because if there's one thing that people don't like, and it's all encompassing, and the whole thing gets shot down, none of the changes are made.
Okay, that makes sense.
So.
You go to town meeting, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
Right, and I think what we might be able to do, and this has been done in the budget part of town meeting, is that they have one article that has multiple parts to it, and they put it forth to town meeting, you know, does anyone have a problem with A? Does anyone have a problem with B? And if there are no problems, then they get voted on. If someone has a problem, then those things are discussed at town meeting. But, you know, some of the articles or some of the rule changes could go right through, others could not. So I'll have to ask our new town moderator how we should go about doing that. Now, if you have things ready prior to November 6th, I don't see any reason that it can't be put on the agenda for the 18th of October to discuss it, you know, to do some preliminary. I won't be here, but
I won't be here either, so it'll be.
so maybe, you know, it might be a good place for some initial discussion with you about things in a public forum. You know, I want to keep this as transparent as possible and let people know that we're talking about this. So that can be done on the 18th if people send you an email and say, I got a couple of things I want to discuss. So I would rather have it in our discussion in a meeting as opposed to back room. Obviously, if you have any questions as to its viability, you can talk to Amy directly, but you know, if we start discussing things that we want to change, I think it should be out in the open. Anybody have anything else?
The only thing I got is 17 Wareham Street. We put a stipulation that we're gonna check on the vegetation on that. Did we ever follow back on that?
The fence. Right.
Yeah, the fence with the goats and
The
stuff
goats.
like that.
We did say that we were.
I drove by it the other day and it looked good. I glanced at it. I didn't stop and
I drove by there the other day too, and that's what sparked my memory. It's just
Yeah.
like, we were supposed to circle back on that and
I don't know, that'd be, Amelia, do you want to do, go walk over there and see what's
Yeah, I
going on?
can reach out to the property owner. I believe I have his contact information, and, you know, just get an update, site visit.
because the damage was more than what we just saw at the street level.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
it was quite a bit in the back as well. I just want to make
Right.
sure that we do, because we did say we're going to come back and check on
Be
that.
thorough with it.
yeah, it looked good from the street though.
Yeah, it does look much better from the street.
Yeah, so I have to assume that because it's so wet back there that
You don't mind going over there, do you? Or-
No, I'd be happy to reach out to them, and, you know, as long as I have direct permission from the homeowner.
Right.
Yeah, it was actually, I believe it was in the approval that we would go back to.
Right.
Yeah,
it was.
I don't remember exactly what day the meeting was.
I think it was like August or something we were gonna.
It's
go
not
back.
directly in the enforcement order itself, but it's in the, you know, the meeting minutes.
Right, they agreed to it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had a public service announcement.
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
please,
that's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So I just wanted to let all the people know who watch on cable, although people actually do watch on cable, I've been told, that Mass Wildlife and Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Friends of Miles Standish State Forest have an annual fishing derby that will be held on September 28th. That's open to the public. It's entirely free. It's a family event. They're going to have the trailer there from Plymouth with lots of different species that people can look at, fish or cats. And everything's provided, it's all free. So it's at Bearing Pond in Miles Standish State Forest. The poles are provided, you can bring your own if you have them, but if you don't, the poles will be provided, the bait is provided. We've actually gotten a lot of good corporate sponsorship in Carver for this event. And we'd just like everyone to come and enjoy it. It will be from 10 to 2 on Saturday, September 28th.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, Carl, Dave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None? We're out. Thank you, Area 15.